Good afternoon all. I hope you're all well given the current situation. Welcome to day 5 of this week of webinars, our final session of this week of webinar series hosted by YPO. Today we've got Nick Kontis from Utilidex who's going to present on our new bill validation and energy management service. Just some general housekeeping before we get started. That's me, I'm Dan Veazey, Energy Category Manager at YPO. All microphones for attendees is currently in mute. It will just be the presenter speaking, but if you do need to ask a question, please use the Q&A tool in the toolbar at the bottom of the software, and you can pop your questions in there, and all questions will be addressed at the end of the session. Just a quick introduction. The majority of attendees of this call would have declared some kind of climate emergency over the last couple of years, and obviously we know that the UK government have committed to 2050 to be net zero in the UK. We also appreciate that public sector are really busy producing kind of decarbonisation and climate change strategies and plans, and obviously putting that plan together to meet their net zero emissions targets. And this also comes against the backdrop of the impacts of austerity over the last few years, and ultimately the need to do more with less. A lot of councils have seen their kind of energy teams reduced in size over the last few years, so it's kind of key that kind of data management is a useful tool in supporting this. A famous saying goes, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So data is kind of king, which is a very important saying. How can YPO help with this? We've recently just launched this new utilities invoice validation and energy management service. We went for a full compliant, OG compliant, and it's to provide a managed service which will help take away the issues around data availability, access and accuracy, and freeing up valuable resource to focus on analysing the data rather than inputting the data. And this is going to be a flexible and cost-effective solution to work with the changing needs of all public sector portfolios. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Nick Kontis at Utilidex, who's going to run through a few slides of a presentation, but also give you a demonstration of the actual system and how that can support your bill validation needs and obviously your energy management needs as well.
Very good, thank you, Dan. Hi everyone, my name is Nick Kontis. I'm the product manager for bill validation and analytics at Utilidex. And today I'll be taking you through sort of some key overview on the information we would be going through in the platform, as well as briefly showing you a quick demonstration of what the product looks like and what it's capable of doing. So to start with, we're calling the platform the hub, the energy hub. The reason that is because we allow you to connect with, sorry, let me read this. It's allowing us to connect customers, consultants, and suppliers in one single place, which is often quite helpful since there's a lot of overlap in terms of information, in terms of tasks, and so on. Similar to what Dan was mentioning earlier, my main focus today is data and what that looks like. I'll be taking you through a 4-part process to achieving better energy efficiency, as well as helping you identify savings within the system. Today, the session is around 2 key parts of the product. The first one is the bill validation or bill processing product. And the main goal of the product is to help you identify disputes of real value with the least amount of time. And we'll see how that looks like and what that looks like within the hub. And the second one is around energy analytics and energy management. And on that side, excuse me, the product is around automating solutions, how you can eliminate waste, as well as find opportunities you can invest in to, I guess, become more profitable. Without further ado, next tab. So on the first part, as I mentioned, it would be your data. Now, this is a single cloud platform, and what that means is that it can manage multiple products under the same place. An example is, as we mentioned, the bill processing product. the energy analytics product and a data platform product. The system also allows for procurement, but that is for a different session. Now, the fact that the information is stored in one place, it means that you can check and review your information at all times for all your portfolios and energy estates. The way we do this is we're using different tools, and that is data quality reports. It's different widgets that I'll be showing you later, and different alerts. With Data Manager being the first part of your journey, this is going to control whether you're trying to improve your consumption, reduce your costs, or focus on carbon targets and carbon efficiency. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the hub allows you to have multiple users under the same platform. So you would have different stakeholders, as we can see on the graph. You would have consultants, suppliers, metering providers, energy manager, and so on. And that means that everyone needs access to different parts of the information, but still under the data, I guess, the same data section you would have. The hub allows you for unlimited user licenses. And what that means is that you can get everyone involved in the process of managing your estate and managing your internal teams. With powerful data, it basically allows you to decide what information is visible to each one of the parties. An instance of this would be if you have a site user, you may simply want them to focus on energy efficiency for their own site. Therefore, they would only have access to that. Whereas on the other hand, you might have a supplier that should have access to the entire portfolio and manage it through on that side. The reason this is such an important aspect is because a lot of the time, I guess with most of the customers, within the energy sector, you will see that there is a big overlap in terms of information that you need to share and have access to. An example of this would be, for example, sharing your data quality reports with suppliers. Processes like this are simply, I download a spreadsheet, I share with someone, and then they get back to me, and then we update the system. This is a process that, through using the hub capabilities of having everyone log into the same platform, it's something we can completely eliminate. This elimination accounts to about 67% of administration processes. And the reason for that is you may have cases, as we said, that someone will need to log in directly, and therefore they will be able to update the data without the back and forth of various spreads and information. Right. The next step on this is analyzing different opportunities. Now, there's a big overlap in terms of information, of course, with the different products. In this case, as we mentioned, we have the bill processing product, and we also have the analytics product. Now, for these two, there's, I guess, a few main elements we would be focusing on. First of all, for bill processing, it's fairly straightforward. You're looking at savings in terms of costs. Now, this can be issues in terms of your consumption, meaning differences in deviation from what the supplier is charging. It can be issues or differences to your charge rates. And it's important to spot those early to make sure there aren't any bill shocks or any rebills going later down the line. In terms of analytics, I think it's a bit more interesting. As Dan mentioned, there is this movement that we have to all go by, which is net zero. The hub supports you in that goal, and it helps you find energy savings, first of all, for your specific sites, and you can compare the data between the different sites. But it also allows you to set carbon targets, and then you can track your performance against previous years, different sites within your portfolio, and then see how you're performing against those targets. The way the hub supports that information is through a variety of different reports, a variety of different Power BIs, which is effectively just a graphing tool, and then different alerts, and I guess, so we're gonna go to the next part, through automation. Now, as Dan mentioned previously again, data is king. It's really important that you have good data information, because otherwise you cannot identify the specific, I guess, points, the specific areas you need to fix or work on within your estates. Therefore, the main focus is on that. Now, connecting to the hub approach, you can easily share the data between the teams and the partners, since everyone is accessing the same information. The next page. Now, once we've completed the first 3 steps, meaning managing our data, making sure all the teams have access to the site, and finally analyzing the different opportunities, the hub then takes a further step in helping you engage and automate some of these processes. An example of this would be setting up tailored solutions for the sites through automated notification, specific automated reports, meaning every certain days, I will be receiving a report to tell me, hey, this is what your data looks like, or hey, this is what your performance looks like for the period. By doing that, you ensure that all parties have access to the same information, and all parties can even receive this information without even logging into the hub. A further step from that is, as previously mentioned, creating alerts and different triggers, and that is helping you benchmark against your information and focus on meeting the targets you have set. For example, a 10% reduction in carbon or a 10% reduction in consumption, whatever that may look like. Finally, the hub has functions inside that allow you to customize and personalize the information you see. I'll show you what that looks like in a second in the actual demonstration of the product. But effectively, we found that the information that each user wants to see is different. An example of this would be, if I'm a site user, the information I'm looking to get out of the hub would be relevant to my site, and it might only be on a high level. However, if I'm a utility manager or if I'm an energy manager, I would then like to see a bit more information, which is where the Power BI tracking and Power BI graphing comes into play. Finally, and that is for someone that is a bit more interested in the detail on making their own information or collating their own information, we also have powerful reports. There's a wide selection of reports. I'll be showing you how to access those today, but there is a wide selection of different reports that the users can access and get information out of. For the next part, I'm actually going to switch to my browser, and I'll very quickly take you through a quick demonstration of what the hub looks like and some of the information within that. Let me now switch to my browser, refresh my page. Very good. Now, this is the landing page we're greeted with as soon as we log into the hub. As I mentioned before, this is our dashboard. Now, this dashboard, as I briefly mentioned, is also customizable. So if there is an information I want to see, an example is, I may not want to see my site changes for a month, I can just remove it, and I can move things around to make sure the information that I'm looking is only customized to myself. You will also see that I have different trackers. So that is quite informative if, for example, I'm a site user. All I want to know is, am I tracking good in terms of my carbon? So I can see that I have consumed less than last year. Therefore, I'm quite happy with this. The other important element before I move on from this page is the data quality. This is quite important, of course. As we said, data is the most important aspect of your system, and it will ensure that the reporting you're getting is accurate, as well as the opportunities identified are also valid. I can see here through this widget that my information is looking great, therefore I'm happy to proceed. Another area you can track this is our heat map, and this is specifically focused on consumption information. So I have a view here for 6 months. Let me change that here. I have a view of what information I've received, what is my data quality for the day, as well as any exception report if I need to fix anything. Now, since we're managing this service directly with the suppliers, this is information the supplier will be maintaining for yourselves. And all you would need to do is effectively log into the system and be able to use the reporting straight away. The second element, which is, if we think of it as a layer down, a more detailed layer, is what we call the Power BIs. An example of this is either the consumption or the carbon reduction. So if I click on the consumption benchmark KPIs, this is a Power BI that effectively allows you to track your carbon performance for a specific period. And this is done per site. So as you can see on the screen, I have my different sites here. And then I have my carbon, I guess, for this year, as well as on the blue line, I have my carbon for last year. I can clearly see here that I've achieved a good reduction of 15.29%. And this is how we want to support you in terms of tracking those goals, tracking the consumption and carbon performance throughout the periods. As you may or may not be familiar with Power BI, the information here is very easy to change and very easy to edit on the fly. So for example, if I want to track for a different period, I can then change this and you will see that everything updates alongside. If I want to filter for specific groups or sites, I can also do that. And you'll see again, the information updates to reflect my changes. Finally, in terms of the reporting structure, we also have the reporting framework. So if I click on Generate Reports, you will be able to see a wide list of different reports. The one I think I should focus on today might be the greenhouse gas report, simply to keep on the theme for carbon. So if I click on a period that has already passed, for 19 and 20, let me select all groups, and just download the report to quickly show you what that looks like. What the hub then allows you to do is, if we go to the layer down, is effectively give you all the information available. And then you can use this for other reports you might have internally or tracking you may need to do. Selected the wrong period, my mistake. Very good. Let's try this again. Very good. Very good, there we go. So within this report, what you can do is track your greenhouse gas emissions, your carbon emissions in tons, as you can see here, as well as methane and a few other ones that will be necessary for you to make more accurate carbon tracking and see how you can reach that goal of net zero. Right. Finally, what I think is quite important within the system is that it allows you to track the information, track your entire portfolio to one place. So if I now very quickly navigate to one of my sites, you will see that each site and each meter has their own specific profile, or what we call a CRM. That effectively allows you to view the information in an easy to understand manner, make updates to, for example, some of your analytics data, if you're tracking vacant energy costs or anything like that, through here, as well as view the details for the market information through, I guess, the market detail tab. This gets a bit more specific into bill validation, which we won't be covering in that much detail today. Very good. Finally, the item I wanted to go through is the notification section. Now, this notification section is all about automation, automating alerts and triggers for yourself, as well as setting up automated reports for automated distribution. So if I click on one of these, sorry, I'll click on the alerts. You will see that there's a list of different alerts we can add. So if I click on this, it will then give me an alert, and there's a few different ones. For example, on vacant energy, this is more of a trigger. So if closed energy is exceeding a certain amount I'm not expecting, then the system will send me a prompt letting me know that, hey, this is something you should be looking into. Therefore, I won't need to be keeping an eye on this specifically, as the system is sending me automated prompts on my email. That will be all for today. I will then pass back to this section to simply go through this down.
Nick, is it possible just to give a quick demonstration on the bill validation?
Of course, yeah. Well, I'm happy to.
I think that would be very useful for the attendees.
Perfect, yeah. So I guess on that bill validation section, the first point I'm going to start with is the overview page. Now, as you would have seen, if you did see here briefly, we have the different elements that are required for bill validation. So your site, meter, tariff, and rates data. Of course, you also have the bills that you will be receiving. Now, once the information comes into the system automatically performs the validation for you. If I now click on the settings, this is the place we should start, because it effectively allows you to set up different thresholds and different, I guess, tolerances for the different checks the system is applying. At the moment, the system, I believe, contains around 40, maybe 50 checks, 50 different checks that allow you to check anything from standing side data all the way to specific line item tariffs, overall consumption, and differences within the bill. We also have a golden rule that allows you to ensure you're only looking at information that is important to you, meaning that if there is a large difference in terms of, consumption validation flagging, it may not be big in terms of monetary value. Therefore, it might not be worth looking into. Now, as I said, using the information that we've already set up, that I showed you on the first page, being your side data, meter data, and then tariff rates, the system then calculates what it's expecting the bill to look like, being a shadow bill, that it then allows you to effectively validate against. So if I now click on my bills, validation, and validate bills, I will see all of my bills. And if I click on one of them, you will very quickly see that the system has already performed the validation and is flagging a number of different disputes. Of course, before we jump in, this is for demonstration purposes. So as you will see here, there were 9 invoices received. Out of 9 of them, 4 of them were happy to pay, and 5 of them were deciding not to. The system does this for you automatically, and it allows you to generate reports specifically for this or automate reports as soon as this has been received. I won't go into the detail on each one of them, but effectively, it allows you to do a line-by-line comparison since you're generating the information comparing through a shadow bill. Now, the area where this gets quite interesting and where most of the time savings are around payment file generation. My understanding is that most of you would have a certain, you would have an accounting team allocated that will need to be informed of what bills they're happy to pay. And therefore the system can generate those payment files automatically and integrate directly with your payment file, your accounting system. Now, the way this does it is once I've reviewed the bill and I can see the information here I'm happy with, therefore I'm happy to pay this. I then do the bucket allocation. This is what we call a bucket. And then the system will send out a payment file in your desired format that will say, hey, I have 4 bills that we're happy to pay, but these 5 bills you shouldn't pay as there are disputes still pending. You may choose to move these around to different places, different buckets. So if I click on here, I can then move to pay and query, and then you will see the allocation for everything will change to reflect this. Finally, what is quite interesting is you won't really need to use this process in the system as it's completed automatically by the system. Therefore, what you would be doing is most likely you would be tracking the information through our query management BIs. And the way this looks is if I navigate here to the billing KPIs BI, you will be able to track and have a full circle of information for the changes you've pushed through, for the amounts you've validated, and finally, the main reasons for your disputes. We'll then get different KPIs in terms of how many bills you've disputed, what is the PPU for the different periods, the suppliers, and the charges per month. Right. I hope that gives you a good overview of the system. I recognize there hasn't been, we don't have much time to go through everything, but this should give you a good idea on what that looks like. Another item I wanted to briefly touch upon would be budgeting. As we've been made aware, with a lot of councils and areas like that, you would need to be performing budgeting. The system currently holds a few different ways of performing budgeting. One is effectively calculating a shadow bill for future times. That is quite a detailed version of it, but it gives you line-by-line breakdown on each one of your components. As well as we have a version that allows you to create your budgets in under maybe 5 minutes, and it uses last year's data to create a forecast, as well as it automatically calculates your average PPU for the period, which you can then track against. This then allows you to create a budget within, as I said, about 5 minutes. and it contains all the information from your kilowatt consumption all the way to your charge breakdown, as you will see here. Very good. Any other areas, Dan, you think is worth mentioning since we have a bit more time? Or are we?
It might be worth, Nick, just covering a bit about, you know, downloading certain information that customers can potentially use in their kind of own internal reporting.
Yeah, of course.
So the charts, graphs, Excel spreadsheets, stuff like that. So yeah, might be worth having a
very good.
Covering that quickly if possible.
Yeah, of course. So to Dan's point, there's a lot of information you can extract from the system. Now, this information is in a few different ways. As Dan mentioned, we would also have, as you've seen, we have the overview tab that contains the different graphs, as well as the BI information that allows you to drill into a number of different areas, from capacity, red, amber, green charges, consumption benchmarking and vacant energy, weather budget variations, and I guess billing information. Now, this information you can directly extract from the system. So if I log in here, you will see that for each one of my graphs and each part of the information, I will have 3 dots on the top that allows me to export the data. And then I can use it for my internal reporting as well. Now, each one of these reports is using underlying information that is held in the system within the report section. So if I click and open this in a new tab, you'll see there's a number of different categories we have available here, whether it's billing, consumption, data auditing and quality checks, purchasing, energy management analytics, validation, a number of different ones. As an example, what I can do is I can go to a very granular level. Here we see this is aggregated as monthly. You have the option to view it weekly. But then what I can also do is aggregate down to the smallest layer possible, which would be, I guess, our half-hourly consumption per meter. Now with reports, it's always the same framework that we're using. So if I select the report, I can then choose the information I want to export from the system. So if I do, let's say here, for this group should be good. I select and choose my filters, and I can then download my report directly. I'll very quickly open this. And you will see that this gives us the half-hourly breakdown, which is quite a detailed part of the information, but it's something that basically the system uses to calculate and generate everything else in the system. Right. Finally, as I mentioned before, we also have the ability to automate these reports, and it follows the same structure. So if I click on any of these or add a new one, you'll see there's a few different parts here. First one is selecting the report. Second one is setting the filters, similar to what we have in the reporting framework. And finally is automating the distribution of these reports at a periodic basis. So if you see here, we have a scheduler. Excuse me. And what this allows you to do is, for example, I want to receive this report every 4 days. This is going to be the information, I guess the subject, the email content, and then finally I will set up the emails I want to receive that information here. You can also automate the information to go into your internal systems through FTP or SFTP. For example, if you wish to be creating your own reports using the information in the hub, you may choose to automate the distribution to FTP locations, which will then allow you to pass that information directly from the location you've selected. Hopefully this gives you a bit of a better view on the reporting side of things as well. Now, throughout the hub in the different screens, you would also have bespoke reports for each one of the screens. So with metering, you may wish to access the historical data. You may wish to upload your own data, or even download exception reports telling you what information you're missing for the specific periods you're looking at. Very good. Over to yourself again, Dan.
No, that's great. Thanks for that presentation and demonstration, Nick. Very insightful. Does anyone have any questions? Want anything else for Nick to run through while he's got the demonstration up on the screen? If you do, just please type them in the Q&A. Just nip back to the presentation, Nick. That would be great. Thank you. So this framework's available for any public sector or not-for-profit organisation to use. There's no membership required. If you've got any questions after this session is finished, just email them to energy@ypo.co.uk and we'll answer them. If any attendee wants their own kind of private demonstration, then we can sort that, arrange that out with Utilidex to go through some features that might be specific to that organisation. And what we will do as well is we'll support everyone with the onboarding process if they choose to use this system. So making sure the data's right, getting the data in the system, and then you get the ongoing kind of management and support from both YPO and Utilidex, and also the training supports there. Obviously we've got a question that's coming from Michael. It's, do you have any standard cost and consumption reports that can convert to PDF? Nick, do you want to just take that one?
Yes, sorry, just 1 second. We have reports, however, we do not have the functionality at the moment to convert to PDF. So we have standard cost and consumption reports. We actually have a report called the Key KPI report. I can very briefly show you what that looks like. But effectively, it allows you to download information around your cost, consumption, and carbon as well for a specific period. So what we have here is, if I select, let's do an earlier period to make sure everything's going to be intact for the supplier. And then I'll just download. What you will see here is a few different sets of information, right? So effectively what this does is, initially you have your trackers, what meter you're looking the information for, the date, and then you have consumption, carbon for the period, as well as cost. And this cost is calculated using a fixed PPU value. That is an estimated average PPU value per site. So effectively, this is what your cost would look like using that PPU value. I believe in our case, it's around 14.5, if I'm not mistaken, or 14.8. So it's quite a high PPU, as you will see here. Does that answer your question? Is this what you're looking for, or is it something a bit more different to that?
Yes. Just a follow-up question, Nick, from Michael. He said, are all your reports exported to Excel?
Correct, yes. So you can export all the reports to Excel. You can also automate them to your email. So as I mentioned before, you can automate every single one of the reports to your email. So you may say that I want to receive a monthly report showing me my data quality, and I also want to receive a monthly report showing me my cost, consumption, and carbon to those 3 emails to make sure I have the information in front of me.
No, that's great. Thanks for that, Nick. Is there any further questions, any other questions from the floor? Right, no further questions, Nick. So what I just want to say is thank you to you, Nick, for the presentation and for the demonstration. And just want to thank all the attendees. I know it's a busy period and we appreciate you taking your time to attend these webinars. And if you have any further questions, then just email energy@ypo.co.uk. So thank you for your time. Have a lovely weekend and speak to you all soon, hopefully. Thank you. Bye.